Now we are going to get to my favorite gear of 2018. I was very selective. I had an entire list of gear that I was very pleased with and really liked, but I pared it down to only 4 items, and it is going to be a little bit surprising because I haven't reviewed 1 or 2 of these devices. First one, I think everybody is going to guess it. It is the Universal Audio Aero. I think this may be one of the best pieces of gear that I have bought in the last 5 years. I don't think I've gotten this much use out of anything other than the SM7B. So the Universal Audio Aero 100%, the plug-in ecosystem is incredible. They are such great sounding emulations of the hardware versions, at least to my understanding, because I don't have the hardware versions to play with, but an incredible piece of tech. Love it. I use it every single week on the podcast, and I don't think I could move away from it without having the production of the podcast suffer quite drastically. Next, this is something that I think I may have purchased in 2017 on accident. That tells you something about my problem with gas. For anybody wondering, gas is gear acquisition syndrome. It's the Rupert Neve Portico 5017. It's one of the cheapest ways to get into the Rupert Neve ecosystem. I keep saying ecosystem, but I think it's the cheapest piece of Neve gear that's usable on its own. And I was reluctant to use it because I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want to admit to myself that I had purchased this because it is $1,000 preamp. But for the last 3 months or so, I have been using it on my test rig to play around with. For all my Discord chats, I am using it. It's got a 2-to-1 compressor on there, which is amazing. It's got a DI in there, but it's got the Rupert Neve preamp, which just sounds wonderful. I am very, very much liking that. And when I was testing the Rodecaster Pro on my testing rig, I did enjoy the Rodecaster Pro for voice chats and doing all of that, but I missed the Neve. Simply put, I missed the Neve. I wanted to go back to that, and I wanted to be able to use the Neve with the Rodecaster Pro because the Neve has better preamps, but no DI, no line input, no 1/4-inch inputs on the Rodecaster. So that's what made me very aware of the issues with that Rodecaster Pro and the line ins. Next, we got the Beyerdynamic M201TG. This is probably my favorite microphone of the last year that I reviewed. I thought this microphone just sounded incredible. On my voice, it adds a lot of bass and beefiness without sounding overly boomy, and it still has a lot of openness and clarity to it. It's the microphone that I used on, I should know the number, it's the episode that I recorded in the hotel room, and I got a couple of compliments saying, wow, the episode this week sounded incredible. And I was in a hotel room. Who would have thunk it? I can make my podcast sound better than I can in the studio when I'm recording in a hotel room with no treatment. So I loved that microphone so much. Highly recommend you check out that review. And if you are looking for a voiceover microphone, it's not designed for voiceover, but it is used, by the BBC radio stations in some of them. And it is apparent why, because it sounds incredible. And the last item, let me go ahead and see if I can, sorry for moving away from the microphone. I am going to, okay, it is in frame now. It is the Audio-Technica shock mount. In the video frame, I have pulled down the Rode NTG3, and I have the Audio-Technica AT8410A shock mount. I used this shock mount with shotgun microphones, obviously, but also I used it with the Beyerdynamic M201TG. It does such a great job at absorbing and eliminating any kind of bumps of the desk, and just all around an amazing shock mount. Doesn't work on everything, but still a very, very, very nice shock mount that I loved and I have been using since I got it. That is it for my favorites.